Tracy Didison here. Welcome to the Workplace Wellness Forum, and my guest today is Sandi Boucher. I am so excited to have this beautiful woman with me today, and I'm sure you're going to know why at the end. Sandi, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your amazing summit, as well as to chat today.
Yeah, I am so glad that we're getting this opportunity to talk about you and what you do and what brought you into doing this work. So tell us a little bit, introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about your journey to get here.
Awesome. So, bonjour. Mishko Pagnan Quena Dishnakas Mungdodam. I am Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan and a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Northern Ontario, Canada. I am an Ojibwe woman and I work as a motivational speaker. I'm a best-selling author, and it's been 11 years on this amazing journey. So, as you can well imagine, Indigenous in Canada has its own connotations and challenges, as well as, I believe, opportunities. I was raised as a member of a different culture, not the mainstream way of looking at things. Very blessed to have a strong, beautiful, amazing mom who knew her value and knew that it was not defined by someone else, even in a country that really at her time in her life journey, that was when Indigenous women just were not valued to any extent. So I truly believe her teaching saved her. And I grew up in this very naive little bubble. You know, I was loved and supported by my parents and told that I could do anything. And it was like, this is fantastic. I can't wait. And then I became a young woman. I lost my father when I was 17. And suddenly I was in this world that looked at me as an Indigenous woman in Canada. And it didn't match. It was like, wait a minute, where is this disrespect coming from? Where is this minimizing my value coming from? And like a lot of women, I believe, and maybe even the men, I can't speak for them, they'll have to let us know. But like a lot of us, I got very confused. I made the error, the learning curve of putting my value in the hands of someone else and letting them decide what I was worth. And I think way too many of us identify with that journey. 30 years I was on that journey, and every new partner meant a new version of Sandi.
Yes.
And I can honestly say I finally, when I was in my 40s, when I turned 40, I was exhausted. Honestly, I was exhausted of morphing all the time. It was like, you know what? As cliche as it sounds, I asked myself, who am I? And even more importantly, who do I want to be? And I went back to my mom's teachings, and I went back to what is important to me, my values, my purpose for being. And of course, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. That's right when I lost my mom. And suddenly, in line with my culture, it was now my responsibility to carry on her teachings.
Yes.
And I realized that she would have reached out and she did reach out to every woman she could to remind them of their value and you know, to give themselves a break and just to be kind to them. And losing her was the catalyst for this career. I stopped working for other people. I stopped living by their timeline. I wrote my first book, designed my first seminar, and here I am 11 years later. So.
Well, look at that. What a beautiful journey. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, there are so many rich elements in what you talk about. You talk about growing up as, you know, Indigenous woman, and the lack of value and appreciation of who you are and your identity, and having to find that. And there are many women who are struggling with that. And when we put that in a context of wellness, there is so much ill health and unwell in
Yeah.
not knowing who you are and your self-worth and your self-esteem. And one of the things we teach in that journey of spiritual wellness, as we teach spiritual, wellness and wellness mindset, is self-worth, self-esteem, self-value.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that in terms of purpose and value, and what it is meant to you to own that and your own wellness.
Well, and that was going to go right back to my teaching. So my mom taught me that my value was handed to me on the day I was born. End of story, not open for debate. That is it. You are a valuable person. You are amazing. And even more so, you're meant to be here.
Mm-hmm.
My mom would explain that if you were meant to be born 100 years ago, you would have been. If you were needed in the future, you would have been. That your wisdom and, more importantly, your voice
Yes.
is needed now.
Now.
And that's why we're here. And that's why it is so devastating when women find themselves in a situation where they don't have a voice. And I just had an amazing colleague, male colleague, reach out to me, and he, through his own enlightenment, had realized over the last year, all the planning committees he had been on, there were no women on these committees. And he was like, Sandi, I need your help because a valuable voice is missing. And I wanted to hug the stuffing out of him for realizing that. So realizing that we are essential from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I struggled with, and of course I think we all struggle with, is remembering we had value before we met someone.
Yes.
And that value remains even if they don't see it. Their blindness does not change our value. And I think a lot of people can identify with this. I spent so many years trying to prove myself to other people. Like, if they didn't see my value, now I'm going to try even harder. And I just don't do that anymore. It's like, I know who I am, and I creator sends me the people that appreciate my worth and that I can help. And if someone else doesn't see that, that's okay. Maybe they don't need to. It's not a judgment. It's just not the path that they're on. But it doesn't diminish my path either, or what I can contribute.
So, so important. Such a profound message. And I love that you talk about our voice is so needed in a time like now. And when you think we are in a global pandemic, we have these social crises happening, race relation issues happening.
Yeah.
We have these human rights violation. We're seeing things that happen in our world that's never happened before, and we definitely need to have a voice as women, as people from diverse cultures, and especially for wellness in workplaces, because my motto is what happens at work permeates to the rest of our life. It permeates our life, permeates into our family lives, permeates our relationships, permeates our society. What happens at work permeates the rest of life. And it's so important when we are addressing those issues in the workplace and we look at things like self-esteem. So many people in the workplace, maybe from an indigenous group, is not feeling that self-love at work, not feeling that self-worth. It's not seen as a productive part of the workplace or adding value to the workplace. And recognizing that their worth is not what their boss say it is. It is something that they have to learn from inside. And I love that message that you're teaching in terms of that whole mental, physical, and psychological well-being. It is so important for our society today.
100%. And you said it, that our value is not determined by our boss's opinion. It's not determined by the size of our paycheck. It's not determined by how new our car is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I know, and I'm not saying that those things are negative, because I think you know as well as I do, when you're living your truth and you're standing in your power and you're respectful of other power. I would never want to disrespect or disempower another person. That doesn't make me bigger. That makes me a problem. So I would never want to do that. But because when you start living that way, all that other great stuff comes to you.
Yes.
Right? Like you said, if you're having a positive career where you feel valued and you feel heard, that goes out into your relationship, into your parenting, as well as vice versa.
Yes.
I think as women, learning to use our voice in a respectful yet powerful way is a skill set that is just not widely shared. We need to learn how to do that. It's not about disempowering other people. I hear so many women that are trying to speak up for themselves, but now they're aggressive, not assertive. And it's like, okay, yeah, we're heading in the right way. Let's back that up a little bit, right? So I can absolutely disagree with someone and respect that we disagree.
Exactly.
I can also, one of the things I love, because I was raised in a different culture from mainstream, is to meet people from different cultures. And there's always, when we share, it's not like I'm going to appropriate their teachings. That's not what it's about. But there's always beautiful commonalities. And even when there's differences, I can respect the difference. It's like, okay, that's not part of my teachings, but I respect it's important to you.
Absolutely.
And imagine the world we lived in if we could all just go to that base level, that you like your desk a certain way. That's not my way, but I can respect you like it that way. And you know, you need time to think about things. I can respect that about you. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think respecting our diversity is key to us having a healthier world, a more productive society, and it's key to restoring the global economy. I mean, when we talk about restoring the global economy, you can't do it leaving one group behind, or any group. We're human together. And so there's only one race, it's the human race. And when we work together, we can improve our planet, we can improve our relationship, we can improve our workplaces, we can improve our policies and our legislations, and travel can be safer and everything, right? And we can actually overcome and move beyond COVID-19. But when we separate, when we don't see the value in doing that, then that's when we have real challenges. And I think that's so important on this scale.
Absolutely. Diversity and respecting the differences. I always go to the field of wildflowers, or the coat of many colors, whatever metaphor you want to use. As an Ojibwe person, we use the medicine wheel as a teaching symbol. So if you think of a circle divided into 4 equal quadrants, black, yellow, red, and white, and they're said to represent the colors of man. But our teachings say it's not until the colors come together and share their teachings with each other, that's the only time the world comes together. So it's not about trying to be all the same. It's about celebrating those differences. And I wanted to share one more teaching with you. I think you're going to absolutely love this. It really, really highlights that importance of diversity, especially when it comes to leadership. So my mom, when she was talking about actually a partnership, whether it's a personal partnership or a business one, really doesn't matter. She used to make me and my brothers do this all the time. So she would make us stand back to back. And she would get us to look around the room while we were standing there. And she would point out to me that I can see a lot from where I'm standing, but I can't see one part of the room. And it's directly in front of my partner. And my partner can see a lot of the room, but he can't see. His blind spot is obvious to me. And she would say, that's the partnerships you need, that's a literal representation of the phrase, I got your back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means. And when it comes to diversity, the phrase we always use is nothing for us or about us without us. If you're designing a program for youth, you need youth to guide you. If you're providing a program for elders, you need elders to guide you because they see your blind spot.
Yes.
And
So
together
important.
you can just be absolutely successful. And it's a win-win scenario. So why wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Right?
It is just so important when we work together.
Yeah.
And part of workplace wellness, part of what I teach at Interpersonal Wellness Services, one of the things that we teach in workplace wellness is the ability of collaboration and the realization that if you have the most amazing gym and you have this amazing yoga or meditation program, and yet your employees are bullying each other, harassing, there's inequity, people don't care about each other, you may as well throw out the gym and because uh, humans, we come into this world attached to another on a belly button.
Yeah.
And if you have a belly button, then you need others. If you don't have a belly button, that means you're not a human. You're not a person. Actually, all the animals have belly have come in with some cord. So the reality is we need each other. We're connected with each other, and we need to stay connected with each other. And the interpersonal part of your organization is the most foundational part because your people are your asset, your greatest asset. And the interpersonal dynamics of your people and the engagement of your people and the ability of your people to rely on each other, to be interdependent, to share and to collaborate is profoundly important to the wellness of your organization. And it's going to be intrinsically more important now as we look at restoring workplaces, restoring our global economy. We have to have that relational well-being. It is critical to what we do, but it starts with respect. It starts with identifying, recognizing diversity. It starts with being being in that place and wanting the same for others as you do for yourself. And I think that's so critical.
I think this is such a time, and I've always been a huge advocate of conscious living and
Yes.
not just the leaf in the wind, but
Mhm.
consciously deciding who you want to be, where you want to be, how you want to be in any given
Mhm.
situation.
Yes.
And I think the pandemic really highlighted, I know it did for me, just how much we do need other people. Because
Oh,
when that option was taken away, we felt it.
we suffered. Yes.
What I hope happens, really hope happens, because sometimes when you miss people so much, you gravitate to anybody. And I think we have to consciously decide, yes, I need humans in my life, but I need that positive interaction. If I'm going to give 8 hours of every single day to an office, I need that to be a place where I feel valued and respected and heard, like you said. Uh, my assistant and I were just speaking this morning, and the schedule got a little fluid today, so I had to rearrange a few things. And she just laughed and said, I love how our work environment is just it's not structured. We adapt, we go, but the productivity
Yes.
is through the roof because we laugh, we enjoy each other. She is an expert in her field, and I am quite comfy with identifying that admin and organization is not my forte. But she allows me to excel in the areas I do by excelling in the areas she does. And it's just such an amazing fit. And it's not structure, it's not controlled, it's not you have to do it this way. It's honoring the human rather than that job description,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, that is so important. And really, when you talk about honoring humans, we recognize that people are multidimensional. They come with different backgrounds, they come with different perspectives. And as we are more interested in learning about each other, we become wiser people. We really are able to tap into the humanity in the workplace. And that's where the stress level goes down. That's where the resilience comes up. That's where the mental health is boosted, because humans need each other. Humans need human connection. Humans need support from each other. And when that happens, we see people. We see people are able to work together. People are able to bring their challenges, bring their innovation, bring their ideas, and collaborate in such a profound way that it becomes unbelievable what people can create when they work together from a place of trust and ethics and integrity and understanding.
Yeah. And the loyalty,
Yes.
right? And I think a lot of people don't realize that. I can think of one elder that when I first met her, she was actually my boss at work. And she was just so beautiful, so humble, so encouraging of
Mm.
everyone. She wanted to hear your ideas all the time. She would never ask you to do anything that she wasn't willing to do. She did the 4 flights of stairs to go get paper for her printer rather than asking an assistant because they were busy. And she was always the first one in the office and the last one to leave. And all of us worked so hard for her because we knew she had our back. If ever we were struggling, she was going to be there for us.
So
And just, she never asked for that loyalty. She never demanded it. We freely gave it just because of the example she set and the environment she created. So,
And
yeah.
that's the thing about leadership today. I think many leaders struggle. They're so stuck in their egos. Some of the schooling they've had haven't taught them the human part, the interpersonal part, the relational part. And so, one of the programs we teach is a relational leadership, teaching leaders how to relate to their employees, to develop that relational well-being in the workplace, but also to be able to foster that among their teams. And the feedback we get from our leaders is like, wow, I have an MBA and I did this and I did this program and this is giving me exactly what I need, because they need that. They need that structure. They need, the tools and the know-how, because just like everything else as humans, everything we know, we learn. And so when we learn a new thing and we put it into practice, we will see the results and we can grow and become better, and our workplaces can become less stressful, they can become more harmonious, and they become more innovative, and people can work and live and be able to go home and contribute to their families and their communities, because work hasn't depleted them. Work hasn't taken out everything good from them. It's added to their life and their well-being.
If there's a quote I use over and over and over again, it's from my last book, and it's "Judgment burns bridges." So as soon as, if someone says something to me or they're managing in a way I don't agree with, if I sit in judgment, well, the opportunity's gone. But if I always go to exactly what you just said, they can only do what they've been taught.
Yes.
They're doing the best they can with the tools they have. And if it's not working, we need to introduce more tools. We need to bring in more skills. It's not about, I hear it all the time, well, they shouldn't treat me that way.
Exactly.
Well, maybe they don't know any other way to supervise. And let's look at fixing that so that you can have the environment you need.
So
That
important.
Right? That other quote, that when the flower doesn't bloom, you don't blame the flower, you look at the environment it's growing in,
Yes.
right? And that goes for our students, our employees, our bosses. We need these amazing environments, especially now,
Yes.
right? Here's our chance to do it right, to be innovative and create. If we're going back into the offices, let's make it a place we want to race back to.
So true, so true, because many employees are not racing back to workplace
Yeah.
or want to, because it has been toxic, it has been depleting, it's taken away from their energy. But at the same time, what we've noticed now is there are the virtual workplaces where people are not listening to each other, they're not paying attention, they're not connecting. And there is so much importance now when we talk about workplace wellness to look at the virtual part of it, because many workplaces will never be a bunch of us huddle back in the office. Many workplaces will be continue to be virtual or have an element of virtual. So at the Global Workplace Wellness Summit, where you will be presenting, and I'm so looking forward to your presentation. And one of the things we want to remind organizations and leaders that when you are doing a dual now, because you're going to have people in the office and you have people in the virtual workspace, you are now going to be a dual leader. You're going to be doing things differently. You need to give up some of that control for the virtual, where people are recognized to have the ability to plan their time, to set their schedule, and to meet the deadline. So be communicating a lot more efficiently and giving them clear deadlines and expectations is so much more important now. Keeping those lines of communication open, schedule them in, schedule those times to check in with the employees. And one of my clients I'm coaching right now is, she said to me, one of the things I dislike the most about my organization, rather, she said, I hate the silence. And now that we're virtual, it's worse. She said, now that we're virtual, the silence is worse because you send out an email, there's nothing. Leadership says nothing. You have to now assume what's going to happen, where we at. And you're like, did they not see my email? Are they mad at it? It's like, and it's stressful just going through that process. Who wants to have to go through their day that way, right? Just respond, set a time to follow up, give people that, as a leader, create that culture, that virtual workplace culture. So your employees are not spending time wringing their hands, wondering how people are perceiving their messages and their communication. So people can have better, healthy dialogue, and the interpersonal dynamics are not strained because people are virtual. We can be dynamic and connected.
Exactly. I think we need, as again, as soft and fuzzy as it sounds, I think we have to be kinder to each other.
Yes.
That this was traumatic. It
Yes.
still is. It's
Still is.
scary
It's
for so many people, right?
Yes.
Worlds got turned upside down,
The whole
personal
globe.
lives,
Yes.
right? People are now trying to put in a work day with a 2-year-old running around in the background, or a teenager having a crisis, or a husband who can't find his wallet, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
And I know for me personally, the only way I've ever survived that kind of major shift is to totally own that I'm in a different environment now. When I try to apply the rules of the old environment, I set myself up for a fall and a lot of stress. It's like, okay, what works here? And like you were saying with giving up control, Chief Tony Alexis is one of my mentors from out west, and he always talks about intent. What is your intent? So if the intent is to get this report done by 4 o'clock on Friday, does it really require they log in at 9 a.m. on Tuesday? Right? Like, what is the intent in narrowing it down so that you don't need to control all the minutia? Just let's work together, trust that they're there for you, celebrate when you make it, when it's done at 3:30, and then go on to the next one, right?
So important, so important. And I think all of us have to think that way. All of us have to see that. And all of us have to be more respectful and more tolerant. And that kindness you said is so, so important. And it has been absolutely lovely chatting with you and learning more and just being on the forum, because we want to keep those conversations going. These are things that are actually happening. These are the real problems people are facing with on a daily basis, and we want to shed light on these forums and give people tools or ideas or just jog their memory or get them to think differently about what's happening. I'm very excited to have had you on with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm so looking forward to the summit to be a speaker as well as a participant. You have amazing lineup of speakers. So
Oh, we've been so blessed, so blessed. With the summit, I think it was. I think what happened is it was a void in the marketplace. It was an area where people were just not getting what they need. It's not a fancy conference where you get to leave your problems behind and come out and hang out for a couple of days. It was actually bring your problems to the summit and let's help you
yeah,
solve them. So
yeah,
people are hungry for solutions, but they don't, they still want help. They
yeah.
want to be in a safe place where they can say, oh, that's how that works. Tell me a little bit more. And oh, that's a really great idea. I'm going to apply that in my workplace. And I think that's key.
I so agree. Egos get heavy,
Yes, they
and we
do.
need to be able to set them down and say, you know what, I have no idea what to do with this challenge.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you're having the same one. Can we talk about, can we collaborate and come to a
Absolutely.
solution? Okay.
So important, such important conversations. I'm so glad we're having them open and we'll continue to do more. I look forward to many more conversations with you. Thank you, Sandy.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye bye.